name's Michael. Well, my wife and I had to return to Canada last night after being on our winter vacation, so we had to cut it short because of the COVID-19 virus, and now we're under 14-day self-isolation. So we're wondering what we're going to do with our time. Well, there's a few things we know. We love to cook, we love to eat, we love to share recipes and photos of our food with friends and family. So we thought we'd produce a little series over the next 14 days we're calling Quarantine Cuisine. And so we hope you enjoy the series and us sharing the recipes and the techniques that we use while we're preparing our food. Anyways, you might wonder what I'm doing in kitchen whites because I'm not a chef, but I do belong to a group called Les Mattalo, which loosely translates as kitchen boy or kitchen helper. There's a number of chapters around the world. It is a group of guys that meet on a monthly basis and prepare a 4 or 5 course meal under the direction of an official chef. And then we prepare for ourselves. There's about 30 guys in total at each of the events, and then we have wines paired with each of the courses as well. So we're not able to do that because of the lockdown, because of the COVID virus. So I thought I would put on the whites for you and enjoy some cooking time together. So we hope you enjoy it, and let's get started. Okay, so the first and most important thing in the kitchen is washing your hands. So 20 seconds, wash my hands, soap and water. Really important to be sanitary in the kitchen at any time, notwithstanding right now with COVID-19, which we want to prevent any kind of contamination or transmission of this terrible virus. So let's walk through the menu for tonight. First thing up is Italian sausage. These are homemade Italian sausage based on my grandfather's recipe. A very simple recipe. It's ground pork with some salt, with some fennel, with some ground pepper, chili flakes, and then we infuse some red wine with some garlic and put that over top. All gets mixed up, stuffed in a casing. We do a batch of these every year as part of our family tradition. I've been doing this for about 25 years. So we're gonna do that, slice the sausages up in a pan. We're gonna roast them with some onions and some garlic and probably add a little bit of red wine for some flavor as well. So that's the main protein for tonight. Next up is asparagus. So we're going to do this very simply in the oven with olive oil and salt and pepper on it. We're going to roast these in the oven. What's really important with asparagus, and I'll show you a bit of a tip to how to get the most out of each stalk of asparagus. Asparagus tends to be very woody on the end, so I'm going to show you how I prepare them and how you can enjoy this asparagus. It's a great accompaniment to any protein. And then finally, it was really nice to come home last night after our travels. And a bit of a surprise in the kitchen, so we're doing a bit of a cheat today, but something really delicious. So my son Kevin and his girlfriend Vicky prepared these beautiful stuffed pasta shells with ricotta, a little bit of meat inside with some basil and tomato sauce, and these have been prepared in the oven. So this is going to be a bit of a reheat in the oven today, but it gives us a big head start after our first day in the country. So anyways, that's it, and now we're going to start our prep. Okay, first I like to get my vegetables prepared first. I usually start from something that to avoid cross-contamination, obviously change cutting boards after as well. So we're going to start with slicing a simple onion. Now, just in terms of a knife technique, you never put your fingers like this and try to cut. You'll cut your fingers. It's always use your side of your hand here as a bit of a guide. So to cut an onion, I just slice it down the middle this way. Turn the onion on its side. The best way to dice it is just slice it up here, just into slices right to the very end. Then you can just turn the oven on its side and voila. You have a really nice, good, sharp knife. It stops the crying, trust me. Blunt instrument puts spray all over the place, so that's great. So there's your onion. Our onion's out of the way, that's all prepped. Put that off to the side. Next, some garlic. And garlic, the easy way to peel garlic is essentially just getting the side of the knife and just pressing down firmly and then cut off the sides, and then generally the skin comes off the onion pretty easily from after that, and then it's easier just to be able to cut up the garlic and chop it. So for purposes of this, we're going to keep the garlic in a little chunkier form, so not really going to mince it very much. I like having garlic that's frying up in the pan and roasting away with all the other elements, and sometimes if it's chopped and diced too much it tends to burn a little bit, or you don't get the flavor of the garlic. It kind of gets lost in all the other flavors in the dish, so that's kind of like how I like to prepare it. So very simply, just going to slice it on its side. Okay, Okay, so onion and garlic are done. Okay, next up is preparing our asparagus. So when you look through the asparagus and a bunch of asparagus you get, you might notice the following. So what you'll see is the fact that this one over here has some white on it and this one here is green. What you want to do first is you want to take the white ends of the asparagus off and cut it towards the green. So simply just cut it, discard the white spot. Now you can use any kind of peeler that you like. I've got a couple of them. I've got one like this, or I've got a different one like this. It doesn't matter which one you use. Essentially you grab the asparagus, just put it on a cutting board and go around like this and trim the bottom part of it off. So this gets rid of kind of the woodiness on the outside and therefore allows you to keep the rest of the asparagus intact. Before I started learning a little more about cooking, I used to literally cut all of this off, and so we wasted 1/3 to 1/2 of the asparagus stalk, each asparagus stalk. So that's the prep of the asparagus. Okay, now that the asparagus is all trimmed, get some parchment paper, line a cookie sheet with this. Get some better quality extra virgin olive oil. We like to use Otto brand, which is extra virgin olive oil, and just drizzle over top of the asparagus stalks. I like to get my hands a little dirty and just get it in there and rub. Make sure everything is coated very nicely. Even everything out so not everything's on top of each other here. So you have all the asparagus stalks here nicely. And then get some, I like using sea salt, a little coarser salt. Just make sure that's seasoned very nicely. Don't be shy. And we're going to pop that into a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Okay, now we have all our vegetables prepared. Now I'm going to prepare the sausage for the frying pan. So quite simply, as you grab a link of sausage, I like cutting them on the diagonal. You can cut them whatever way you like, but that's all I do is cut them into a decent size. You kind of have to slice them here a little bit, and to kind of put them in a nice, almost a bite-sized chunk. Don't get them too small or they come just like a bit of mush. So you want to cut these up just like this, and then continue on until you have all of your sausages prepared. Okay, we have the asparagus is in the oven right now, roasting, and actually put the pasta shells that my son and his girlfriend prepared in there as well, covered just to reheat. And now we're ready to prepare the sausage. So first thing is get a good non-stick pan is what we like to use for something like this. Get the heat up first before you add anything. I think the mistake a lot of us make is we tend to put our oil in the pan and try to heat it up. It's actually quite the opposite. Now what I like to do, we're going to throw a little bit of fresh thyme in here. So what I like to do is I like to put the fresh thyme in there right on the hot pan. Because what that does, that actually helps yours open up the flavor a little bit before you add anything. So I just tossed a couple of sprigs of thyme in here. I thought that might complement the meat very well. Starting to smell very nicely. You can smell the aroma off of the pan. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to add some olive oil to the bottom of the pan. A generous dash there of olive oil. I'm going to add the onion. And we're going to get that going. Now onion I always add, and not with garlic together, and not garlic first, because garlic really tends to burn very quickly. So I like getting the onion in here for about a minute or so and it becomes very translucent. I don't worry about the roast or the thyme sprigs in here. They are on stems, so at the end before we plate we'll be able to pull the sprigs off. Whatever little leaves of thyme fall off into the food, that's actually a good thing as well. So, so the onion's starting to prep here a little bit. Going to saute this down nice, get the heat up a little bit more. And just a little tip, which I didn't show at the beginning, how do you know your pan is hot enough? Well, essentially put the fire up on the frying pan and throw a couple droplets of water inside of it. If the droplets of water sizzle off pretty quickly, then you know your pan's ready to add oil. Olive oil doesn't have a high flame point, so if you leave the olive oil in the pan and it gets too hot, it'll actually burn. So you can use vegetable oils, you can use avocado oil, or you can use different types of oil to have a higher flame point. I'm using olive oil just because it's Italian sausage and my grandfather wouldn't expect anything other from me other than using olive oil. Okay, so the onions seem to be sauteing very nicely. Gonna toss the garlic in there now as well. We'll get this going. And not too far behind, because we are gonna throw this in the oven for a little bit. I'm gonna add the sausage. So the sausage pieces will go inside here, the ones that we sliced up earlier. We'll get these going very nicely. Okay, so I'm going to just continue to cook this a little bit and before we throw it in the oven. So we're going to cook this down just a little bit. Okay, so we have the sausage browning here. Don't need to cook it all the way through because we're going to put it in the oven. So I'm going to add a little bit of red wine here. It happens to be a Rioja. That'll just give some moisture to the dish when I put it in the oven to cook down and make sure that nothing burns on the bottom of the plate. So that's about it. Put some wine inside, and now I'm going to throw this in the oven with the asparagus. It should be roasting nicely, and the pasta shells, it should be warming very nicely as well, and we'll probably keep this in here for about 20-30 minutes. Internal temperature should probably be something around 160 for this. Pork doesn't need to be cooked like 170, 180 like the old school days. The health regulations have actually come down to that temp. But we want something that's moist but cooked through. So anyways, this is good to go in the oven, and after this we're pretty much ready to go to the plate. Okay, you can't talk about a great meal without talking about great wines to pair with it. So there's two wines tonight. One we call a quaffing wine, which is a wine we've enjoyed while we're preparing the meal. And tonight we have Verona. It's a Rioja from 2015. It's the Reserva wine that they have from Spain. So we traveled Spain last year. Actually, we traveled it in 2017 as well. And I got to tell you, the wines of Spain are fantastic. But the main course tonight is going to be a wine called Ucucci. It's a single varietal vinification method. So it comes from Italy. I subscribe to a service called wineonline.ca where I tend to buy some wines. Highly recommend if anybody can do that. You can get half cases or cases delivered straight to your door. So these are the two wines we're serving tonight. The quaffing wine is pretty much done, so we'll get on to the dinner wine, and I'll give you an update on the dinner wine after we enjoy it. So we're waiting for dinner to kind of cook before we plate, and we'll be ready to eat. Okay, everything's ready out of the oven, resting very nicely on the stovetop. So now we're going to the plate, and this is one of the parts of the meal I enjoy very much, so you can get creative on the plate. So tonight we have a very simple meal. So we have sausage with asparagus and these pasta shells. But I think what really actually enhances this dish is a little bit of balsamic glaze. So I'm literally just going to put a little bit of a glaze on the bottom of the plate here. You can do whatever you want in terms of design. There's no rules around this at all. And then what I'll do is spoon on our sausage. So a nice good portion of sausage here. Try to keep it here. I think that looks like a pretty good portion right there. And then of course after that we'll get our asparagus. So about 6 or 7 sprigs seems to be a good amount for a pasta meal. I'll kind of put that right in the middle there. And then these beautiful pasta shells, which I'm just gonna put on top just here. We'll probably put 3 of these on just as a good side starch with some beautiful cheese inside, and the little bit of meat mixture, and I think there's some basil in here as well. It wasn't me that prepared it, obviously. It was the girlfriend of our son. Okay, so there's our plate. I think we're actually good to go right there. So we're gonna sit down, enjoy this beautiful meal together as a family, although we will be social distancing, so we'll see everybody at the table. Well, thank you for joining us for the very first episode of Quarantine Cuisine. This is our son Kevin, our young son Kevin, who he and his girlfriend made the pasta shells tonight. I'd like to introduce you to my beautiful wife Dorothy here as well. So she is the underdog in all of these creations. But this is all about the celebration of food and the celebration of what brings us all together. So tonight is all about the love of food, the love of family, and then of course friendship extended for those who are finding their way during this tough time with the COVID-19 virus. So we're all going to say bon appetit, salud.
Salud. Thank you.
And we are social distancing, which is great. Enjoy.